Have you ever looked at the silence of your divine masculine and wondered if it meant he didn't care? Have you ever felt confused by his distance, baffled by his retreat, or hurt by how easily it seems he can walk away while you're left carrying the weight of longing, questions, and unanswered emotions? So many divine feminines silently battle this same ache. They tell themselves stories like, maybe he doesn't feel anything, or maybe I imagined it, or maybe he never loved me at all. But deep down, you sense there is something more, something hidden beneath his silence, something powerful, something unspoken. And today, we're going to name it. In today's teaching, we are going to peel back the veil and step into the inner world of the divine masculine. You're going to understand clearly, deeply, and without confusion what he truly feels, what his silence really means, why he distances himself even when he loves you, and what is happening inside him during separation. This isn't guesswork. This isn't fantasy. This is the part of the journey most divine feminines never get to see. By the time we finish section I, you will understand his longing, his sacrifice, and the sacred purpose behind his withdrawal with a level of clarity you've never had before. By hearing this truth, something inside you will shift. The confusion will soften. The pain will reorganize itself into understanding. And the separation, instead of feeling like rejection, will begin to reveal itself for what it truly is. A profound act of devotion, a soul-level strategy designed to elevate you. Once you understand what your divine masculine actually feels, you won't see his silence the same way again. You'll no longer feel powerless in the journey. You'll begin to step into your own sovereign energy, the very thing he's been waiting for, longing for, and sacrificing for. This knowledge will change not just how you see him, but how you see yourself in this connection. And that shift is the beginning of union. Section 1. What the divine masculine actually feels. To truly understand the divine masculine, you must first understand the depth of what he carries within him, a longing so profound that most divine feminines underestimate it. While you may feel the ache of missing him, he experiences that same ache amplified. The pining, the yearning, the emptiness of separation. It is not merely emotional discomfort for him. It reverberates through his entire energetic field. It presses into his chest, occupies his mind, and challenges his soul in ways he rarely shows on the surface. Most divine feminines imagine they are the ones who suffer the most in separation, but the divine masculine often carries a heavier, more silent burden. Why? Because for him, separation is not absence, not a withdrawal of affection, not a loss of interest, not an act of detachment. For the divine masculine, separation is sacrifice. It is a soul-level offering of love, devotion, and protection. When he steps back, he does not do it lightly. He does not do it casually. He does not do it because he stops caring. The opposite is true. His pulling away is an act of spiritual strategy, a movement guided by instinct, higher purpose, and an inner knowing far older than this lifetime. Deep within him, he recognizes something the divine feminine often forgets in her pain. She cannot rise to her full power while clinging to him. He senses this even when he cannot logically explain it. He feels it in the subtle shifts of your energy, in the moments when your wounds speak louder than your truth, and in the vibrational mismatch between your current self and your higher self. Something in him understands, if I stay now, I prevent her from becoming who she is destined to be. And so he steps back, not to abandon, but to allow, not to punish, but to prepare, not to reject, but to protect your ascension path. This choice, the choice to walk away, wounds him far more deeply than you realize. You may think you're the one who feels the pain of his silence, but his silence is not coldness. It is the sound of a man breaking himself open so you can step into your sovereignty. It is the weight of a soul who wants nothing more than to be beside you, but refuses to hold you back from becoming the version of yourself you were born to embody. When he retreats, he feels the cut, he feels the emptiness, he feels the loss, and yet he chooses this pain consciously. He chooses it because he loves you beyond the level of comfort, beyond the level of ego, beyond the level of physical attachment. His love is not passive, it is active, it is intentional, it is sacrificial in the most spiritual sense. And here is the truth many divine feminines never hear. He does not leave because you are not enough. He leaves because he sees who you truly are. He sees the power you haven't fully stepped into. He sees the brilliance you haven't claimed. He sees the higher version of you that cannot rise while leaning on him emotionally, spiritually, or energetically. So he pulls away, carrying the longing with him, knowing that this temporary distance is what allows you to evolve. Every part of him wants to stay. Every part of him wants to hold you. Every part of him wants the closeness you crave. But he cannot remain when he senses you are not standing in your greatness, because in the twin flame journey, staying too soon can collapse the entire divine design. What the divine masculine actually feels is a love that hurts and heals at the same time, a love that demands strength, a love that asks for distance not because the bond is weak, but because the bond is sacred. And through this separation, through this sacrifice, he holds the vision of the moment when both of you rise into alignment and can finally meet as equals in soul, power, and purpose. Before we move into the next section, I want you to take a moment to sit with what you've just heard. Let yourself breathe into it. Reflect on how these truths land in your body. Has your perspective shifted even slightly? Has something finally clicked? Your journey becomes more powerful when you actively witness your own reactions. So I invite you to share them below. Leave a comment telling me what resonated most with you, or simply type, "I honor the divine design," to anchor this understanding into your energetic field. Your reflection not only deepens your healing, it opens the door for the next layer of clarity we're about to step into together. Section 2. The masculine's silent pain and ancient conditioning. The divine masculine carries a kind of pain that most people never see, a pain that rests not only in his current lifetime, but echoes from centuries of suppression, conditioning, and denied humanity. His suffering is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is not expressed in words, because for millennia, words were not an option for him. The masculine was never given permission to feel, let alone express what he felt. His entire lineage has been trained to believe that softness is weakness, vulnerability is danger, and emotion is a luxury that men cannot afford. Across generations, boys were raised with the same silent message: don't cry, don't break, don't feel. Tenderness was punished, sensitivity was shamed, emotional expression was ridiculed, until it became safer for the masculine to shut down than to tell the truth of his own heart. This is not just cultural conditioning, it is ancestral patterning. It is the memory of entire civilizations where the masculine survived by holding everything in, burying grief, numbing longing, and lowering the volume of his soul so he could make it through another day. But as collective consciousness rises, something extraordinary is happening. The divine masculine is slowly reconnecting to the part of himself he once rejected, his feminine polarity. He is awakening to intuition, feeling truth move through his body, and allowing emotions he buried long ago to rise to the surface. For the first time in lifetimes, he is remembering that strength and vulnerability are not opposites, that power and softness do not cancel each other out, that he is allowed to feel the ache, the fear, the yearning, the love. This awakening does not come easily. He is emerging from ancient paradigms where stoicism was not a personality trait, but a survival requirement. Vulnerability was a threat, silence was safety, and because of this, separation in the twin flame journey becomes uniquely excruciating for him. Not because he feels less, but because he feels more than he knows how to express. He does not know how to show what aches inside of him. He does not know how to articulate the longing that keeps him awake at night. He does not know how to admit the depth of his love without feeling exposed, unprotected, or powerless. So instead, he carries it, quietly, alone, internally. His love becomes a private universe he visits in silence while pretending in the physical world that nothing is shifting inside him. Yet this very pressure, the emotional weight, the inner storm, the longing he cannot name, is what eventually becomes his turning point. When the masculine finally becomes strong within himself, when he learns that emotional expression is not weakness but evolution, he begins the journey home. Not just home to the divine feminine, but home to himself. Because the true reunion, begins the moment he no longer fears the depth of his own heart. Section 3. The fear men carry and why they often stay silent. Beneath the surface of the divine masculine's stoic exterior lives a fear so ancient, so deeply embedded in his lineage, that he often cannot name it even to himself. It is the fear of rejection, not a casual fear, not an insecurity, but an archetypal wound carved into the masculine collective over thousands of years. This fear lives in his nervous system like an old scar. It shapes his choices, his silence, his hesitations, his disappearances, and his inability to approach the feminine in the way his soul longs to. Many divine feminines say with sincerity, "But I would never reject him. I would never turn him away. I love him." And in your conscious mind, that is true. On a soul level, however, the story is different. If he were to approach you before he has risen into his embodied divine masculine energy, before he has stabilized his identity, healed his wounds, or anchored his mission, you would not accept what he offered. Not because you are unkind, not because you are rejecting love, but because the frequencies would be mismatched. His energy would not yet be able to meet the fullness of yours. The connection would feel unstable, unpredictable, and energetically unsafe. This is why the masculine often stays silent. It is not disinterest. It is not avoidance. It is the deep instinct that approaching too soon would fracture the very connection he cherishes. His soul knows that offering a half-formed version of himself would only create more pain. So instead of risking your rejection, a wound that would devastate him on a soul level, he withdraws, works in silence, and waits until he can meet you as the partner he feels destined to be. To heal this ancient rift, something profound must take place within the divine feminine. She must first balance her own inner masculine and inner feminine energies. When she harmonizes her inner world, grounding her strength while softening into her intuitive flow, she becomes the energetic field where the masculine feels safe to return, not because she pulls him in, but because her energy no longer overwhelms him. It no longer exposes his wounds. It no longer mirrors his fears back to him. Instead, it welcomes him without pressure and without demand. And it is important to understand what this balancing does not mean. It does not mean interfering with his journey. It does not mean rescuing him, pushing him, or trying to guide him before he is ready. It does not mean checking on him, waiting by the phone, or placing your life on pause. True balancing is internal. It is spiritual. It is energetic. It is the quiet, powerful state of holding an open heart at the soul level, even if he is in another relationship, even if he is running, even if he is silent. This is what creates the bridge back to union, not effort, not pursuit, not questioning whether he cares. The bridge is built when the divine feminine becomes a sanctuary of inner balance, a space where the masculine can finally approach without fearing rejection, without fearing inadequacy, without fearing that he will break the connection he longs to fulfill. And this shift, once it begins within her, transforms everything. It becomes the invitation that requires no words, yet reaches him across dimensions. Imagine a divine masculine who desperately wants to reach out to his divine feminine. He drafts the message 100 times. He rehearses conversations in his mind. He thinks about showing up at her door, confessing everything he has held inside. But each time he tries to take a step forward, something in him contracts. His chest tightens, his breath shortens. A wave of panic rises not because he doesn't love her, but because he knows he cannot yet match her energy. She has been healing, expanding, growing into her purpose, and standing in a frequency his current self cannot sustain. If he were to approach now, he would bring old patterns, unhealed wounds, and unstable energy into her field, and she, grounded in her intuition, would feel that mismatch immediately. Not because she wants to reject him, but because her soul recognizes that accepting him at this stage would pull her backward. So instead of risking her quiet, soul-level no, he steps back, he works in silence, he strengthens himself. Meanwhile, the divine feminine does her part, not by chasing or correcting him, but by tending to her own inner balance. She builds her inner masculine by setting boundaries, standing in her truth, living her purpose. She softens her inner feminine by keeping her heart open, trusting the journey, and staying aligned with love, not fear. Over time, something shifts. When he finally approaches again, he feels different, rooted, clear, steady. And she feels different too, receptive, grounded, safe. What once would have been a rejection transforms into a union because both have risen to the frequency where their souls can finally meet. Section 4. The nature of twin flames as one consciousness. To truly understand the twin flame bond, you must be willing to step beyond the limits of ordinary relationship models. Twin flames are not two individuals accidentally drawn together. They are not separate beings trying to merge. They are, at their core, one consciousness, a single divine essence expressed through two physical vessels. This is why the connection feels familiar, ancient, and impossible to sever. It is not an attachment, it is a return to your original nature. In the beginning, before incarnation, this soul was created as a unified divine pair by God, one soul with two polar expressions. One embodies the masculine current, one embodies the feminine current, and these two are placed in separate bodies so they can witness themselves, grow through contrast, and evolve through mirroring. In the earthly realm, this dual expression allows the soul to experience both sides of its own essence, expanding wisdom and accelerating ascension. Your masculine counterpart is not simply the man. Your feminine counterpart is not simply the woman. They are two lenses of the same soul, perceiving the world from opposite poles of energy. Through these opposites, the soul gains a higher vantage point and a deeper understanding of itself. This is why the twin flame dynamic intensifies during the age of Aquarius, an era defined by spiritual awakening, unity consciousness, and the collapse of outdated relationship paradigms. The twin flame journey is designed for this exact time because it aligns with humanity's shift from separation to oneness. At the deepest level, you are one consciousness living two parallel identities. Every trigger, every longing, every separation, every reunion is part of a structural design coded into your connection. You are each meant to awaken the highest frequency within the other, not symbolically, but mechanically, energetically, and spiritually. One rises, so the other is activated. One heals, so the other remembers. One awakens, so the other is pulled forward by an invisible thread neither of you can deny. This connection is not random, it is not optional. It is architecture, a divine structure, built into your soul from the beginning of time. And because of this, no distance, silence, or detour can erase what you are. You are one essence, expanding itself through two bodies, so that, ultimately, you can meet again at the same frequency from which you were created. If you've made it this far into the message, it already tells me something powerful about you. You are not just listening, you are remembering. Take a quiet moment to notice what stirred inside you as you heard these truths. Did something feel familiar? Did something in you soften, awaken, or shift? I invite you to share your story or your reflections in the comments so others on this path can feel less alone. And if you don't know what to say yet, simply type, "I am one soul in two forms," as your affirmation. Let that sentence anchor the recognition that your connection is not accidental, not imagined, and not broken. It is divine architecture awakening within you. Section 5. The masculine's early experience of separation. There is a rarely spoken truth in the spiritual world, one that quietly shapes the entire masculine journey from the moment he takes his first breath. While most people assume that separation begins later in life through childhood wounds, emotional experiences, or later relationships, the masculine actually encounters his first experience of separation at birth. This is not psychological, nor is it symbolic. It is biological, energetic, and deeply woven into the architecture of creation itself. A baby boy arrives in the world carrying XY chromosomes, while his mother carries XX. These differing chromosomal frequencies create an energetic mismatch that subtly shifts the bond the moment he leaves the womb. The feminine child, on the other hand, shares the same XX frequency as her mother. This creates a seamless arc line of resonance, breast to breast, heart to heart, ear to ear. She is held within a matching field. Because of this, the feminine child does not register an energetic separation at birth the way the masculine does. The masculine child does, not because he is less connected, but because his frequency is different. The XY pattern does not fully align with the mother's energetic grid. As a result, on a subtle and unconscious level, the masculine experiences himself as other the moment he enters the world. This sensation is not verbal, emotional, or conscious. It is instinctive. It is cellular. And it forms the earliest template for how he interprets love, bonding, and intimacy throughout life. This original separation becomes the first story his soul carries into the world. The quiet sense that the feminine is something he longs for, yet something he is slightly distanced from. It becomes the undercurrent that shapes his later relationships with women, and most powerfully, with his divine feminine counterpart. When he pulls away, freezes, shuts down, or feels overwhelmed by connection, it is not because he does not love deeply. It is because the earliest layer of his energetic memory tells him that closeness is fragile, that the feminine can disappear, and that attachment can be both precious and precarious. This birth experience becomes the foundation for the masculine journey home. Every part of his path, his hesitation, his longing, his confusion, his intensity, stems from this primordial imprint, and ultimately, his reunion with his divine feminine becomes the very healing of the first separation he ever knew. Section 6. Healing the core separation within the masculine. The deepest transformation in the divine masculine's journey begins when he turns inward and heals the first wound he ever carried, the unconscious separation from the feminine that occurred at birth. This healing is not merely emotional, it is not intellectual. It is a profound spiritual restoration that repairs the original rupture between the masculine and the feminine principle itself. When he begins to face this internal divide, he is not only healing a relationship with his mother as a person, but the energetic imprint of the feminine as a force, as a presence, as a living template within his own soul. As the masculine softens into this recognition, something extraordinary happens. The feminine within him, the intuition he suppressed, the tenderness he hid, the vulnerability he was taught to fear, begins to rise. For the first time, he meets the feminine, not as something outside of him, but as a sacred essence held deep within. This inner merging begins the true healing of his divine masculine identity. It allows him to feel whole in places he once felt split, stable in places he once felt unsafe, and connected in places he once felt alone. And here is the truth many feminines long to understand. When the masculine heals the fracture with the feminine inside himself, the separation between him and his divine feminine dissolves instantly at the soul level. This is because the wound was never truly between the two of you. It was not about rejection, avoidance, confusion, or emotional distance. It was never a personal wound. It was an archetypal one, a wound between him and the feminine principle itself. You were never the cause. You were the mirror, the catalyst, the embodiment of the very energy he had been disconnected from since birth. As this core rupture mends, he returns to you not as a fragmented man, but as a unified being. The longing he once carried transforms into clarity. The fear that once pushed him away becomes the force that pulls him home. The silence that once felt like distance becomes the space that prepared him for union. And yet, the healing goes even deeper. For when the masculine repairs his relationship with the feminine essence within, he is also healing his relationship with God. The feminine principle and the divine are not separate. One is the gateway to the other. In reconnecting with the feminine, he reconnects with creation, with intuition, with spirit, with the divine origin that breathes life into both counterparts. When he heals that, he heals separation from you. When he heals that, he heals separation from himself. And when he heals that, he heals separation from God. This is the sacred return of the divine masculine. As you let these truths settle into your heart, remember this: the divine masculine's silence is not a void, but a vow. He is not absent from your journey, He is woven into every step you take toward your higher self. His longing is not passive. It is a quiet devotion, a sacred ache carried in his soul because he believes in the power you are rising into. He steps back not out of indifference, but out of a love so ancient and so instinctive that he would rather endure the pain of distance than disrupt the growth your soul came here to embody. And here is the miracle. Every time you choose alignment over anxiety, presence over panic, self-love over self-doubt, you call him closer without speaking a word. Your expansion is the magnet. Your healing is the signal. Your ascension is the path he follows home. Do not forget, you are not two beings trying to connect. You are one consciousness remembering itself through two forms. Your union is not the start of something new. It is the return to what you have always been: whole, eternal, indivisible. So rise, divine feminine. Rise into the fullness of who you are. Because in your rising, he remembers. In your rising, he awakens. In your rising, he comes home. If this truth resonates with your soul, comment below with the quote, "My soul rises, and he rises with me," so that the universe anchors this declaration in your timeline. And if this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs this reminder tonight, and stay with me. The next video, waiting below, will take you even deeper into your journey.